Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of In the Paint Podcast. I am your host, Rios, and I'm joined, as always, by my co host, Mario. How's it going, man?
Sunny days, baby. Sunny days. Finally, we've
Right?
gotten rid of all the bad weather. We've had some good weather this week, and it's just I've been walking with my dog more. I've been able to go outside more instead of just staying in the house. But
Right.
sunny
You've worked
days, man.
the sun.
Sunny days. How
Yeah,
you
at least
doing?
the sun is out. Spring, is that you, player?
Oh,
Spring's right around the corner. And watch next week, it'll be snowing and raining because that's just
oh
summer.
yeah. It's gonna rain tomorrow. It's gonna rain. It's
Right?
never. It's always
Never get
we
a
get a
break.
peak of every season, and then they got to let us remind everybody has to remind us, hey, you're still in Houston.
Right. Now, so this week, what we're going to talk about, we're going to, talk a little bit about the Cougars and them winning their their consecutive Big 12 title. Talk a little bit about March Madness. It's right around the corner, and it's everyone's favorite time of year if you're a college basketball fan.
Oh
And then,
yeah,
and from there, we're going to transition a little bit to the Rockets. Talk about their previous game against the Pelicans, where they kind of stand in the West, and then finish off with our predictions for the game tomorrow, which is against the Pelicans again, but they'll be playing here
hmm
in Houston. So let's start off with the Cougars again. Congratulations to that program. They won their
yes,
Big 12 title in 2 years. Like we had mentioned last week, the discourse was that this program wasn't ready for the big stage. I have a lot of friends that are are Longhorn fans, Aggies fans, Baylor Bear fans, and they all
of
were like,
course,
we don't think Houston's ready for to be in the Big 12. And now this program has just as many Big 12 titles as all of those teams, some more than to other teams combined. And again, it's a
yep,
testament to Coach Sansom. He has really, reinvigorated this program and completely, did a 180 to where it was, back in 2017. And I mean, one of these days they're gonna have to rename the Fertitta Center the Samson Center because
oh
this
definitely. There's a statue going out in front.
has to
He's gonna
be.
have a statue. That's how good he's doing.
Yeah, because I'm a UH alumni, and when I went to school there between 2003 to 2007, and the program wasn't great. The facility wasn't great. I mean,
Oh, definitely
probably
was.
they were so bad. I probably could have walked out on the team. It was just not a very good program, and it's seeing their progression over the years and to where they are now. It's they haven't really reached the glory years that they had during Phi Slamma Jamma when Hakeem and
Oh,
Clyde
mhm.
there. But the program is, the last 6 years they've been mainstays in the NCAA tournament. They've made the Sweet 16 a couple times, the Elite Eight, made a Final Four appearance. They just have to take the next step to make it to the national championship. And with them, I mean, this year is they have the fourth best odds according to Vegas, and a lot of that comes down to the old mantra: defense wins championships. This
Of
team
course.
is third in defensive efficiency, but they're also third in three pointers made, which is again this is a big turnaround with the program because before they were not a very good 3-point shooting team, and over the years and with the elite guard play that they've had from some of their guys coming over to
Yes.
for the last couple of years, they've really wrapped up their 3-point game. And I mean, defense is a staple of like Kelvin's Coach Sampson team. So, what are your thoughts of like where the program was a few years ago to where they are now?
It's funny that you were bringing up with the start of the program, the UH program when Samson got hired. I was cruising the old interweb and I seen a throwback video of Coach Sampson walking around the campus with a little bullhorn,
I remember that.
trying to get people to come to the game, giving away free tickets. Hey, I'm going to see you at the game. I'm going to see you at the game. Hey, are you going to come to the game? He went everywhere, to preach and like, hey, we're here too. It's just not about football as well, but we're here too. So, and then it showed how the stadium is now. Here the Fertitta Center is now, and this is packed to the brim. It's a hot ticket. It's hard to get it, even for the students. The student section. There are people trying waiting in line just to get to one of the games because it's just people want to see them, and people like to cheer a winner. And this team has been winning a lot of games. They're on the 13 game win streak. So when you see that, people really start to buy in, and of course, Samson, a great coach in the NBA and definitely in college. And look what he's doing. And it's just a testament, like you're saying, to Coach Sampson and what he brings to the city. So and then on the players, on the side of the players, you have Juwan Roberts. He's 5 more rebounds away from 1,000. To
Career
reach that
rebound.
1,000 mark. So, like, he's joining an elite team with Hakeem Olajuwon and other players.
Good beat.
And he's and then he'll also be 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds, joining Hayes, Olajuwon, and Anderson. So,
An elite group.
this just it's just you know it's just, again, testament to what Coach Sampson preaches, and the players are actually taking it. That's the thing. The players are taking that criticism, they're taking his wisdom, and they're applying it on the court. And that's what really makes a difference, is that those kids want to be coached. And Sampson is a hard coach. He's not an easy coach.
Oh, most definitely.
So that's, just talking about them. That's just, it's great to see that and how far they come to where they are now.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that they're on a 13 win streak. They haven't lost a game since December at all. They haven't lost a game since December. Their last loss, at one point, lost to Texas Tech, which, that game was, back and forth, could have gone either way, but that was their last loss. They've had 2 losses on the year. Like, they have really dominated the Big 12. And now they got to, exercise some demons, because they have been, upset in the Sweet 16 a couple times during the
Of course.
tenure so far. So they got to, be really locked in and not fall to a Cinderella team, because they've gotten upset a couple times in the Sweet 16. The schedule is somewhat out, but it's basically based on who wins, the first round. They are off until the 13th. That's when they will more or less know who their opponent's going to be, and from there, they're more likely going to be the 1 seed for the Big 12 bracket, just because they've won the Big 12 championship. But I'm curious to see what other teams from the Big 12 make it out of that, made out of the first couple rounds. Like I mentioned earlier, Vegas has them at the 4th best odds. So when it comes to number 1 odds, that will be Duke, which makes sense.
Oh, of course,
a blue chip program. They got Cooper Flag, guys, consensus number 1 overall draft pick, for
definitely, yep.
the NBA this upcoming summer. And then from there, the 2nd best odds is Auburn, Florida, and then Houston. But between Auburn, Florida, and Houston, the odds are pretty close. Versus Duke is, according to all this, sports betting sites, excuse me, they are, overwhelming number 1 odds. And I don't know, like, it does help having a player like Cooper Flag. And when you look at the other programs, they don't have like that, elite, single talented player. But I think in the tournament like this, it's not just because you have, the best player in college basketball doesn't necessarily mean that you should be the favorite to win it all. I think it really comes down to 2 things: defense and depth. And that's something that the Cougars definitely have in abundance. They have a great coach that always has those guys, locked in, ready to play night in and night out. And then they have a lot of depth as well at the guard position, as well as their wings. And it's going to be real interesting to see how the Final Four plays out. If according to Vegas, those are the Final 4 teams, I mean, we're going to be in for.
Oh yeah,
college basketball fans, that's going to be must-watch TV. But I am also curious to see who the Cinderella team is. We see year after year this little school from middle of nowhere comes out and beats the North Carolinas, beats the Dukes, beats the UConns. I'm really curious to see who's going to be this year.
Yeah, it's interesting that now there's more room for upsets, especially with the expansion of the March Madness teams, being added. That just adds to the flavor of, hey, like you're saying, there's going to be a team from Gary, Indiana, the Hoosiers, and
a little school from what you call it in Illinois, Loyola or something like that. Like the nun, and like they came out of nowhere. Like I never even heard of the place, and they put on the national scene with a couple of upset wins. So that's what they call it, madness. You just don't know who's going to win. Now it's funny. I had a friend ask me to help to make a college bracket. I'm like, you know what? I gave up doing brackets. Nothing
bust in the first game.
Nothing will demoralize you more than your bracket being completely busted after the first round. Like,
Yes. The first game, not the first game.
That's the worst.
That's just shows the testament of the allure of what March Madness is. This is what everyone wants. This is what they look forward to when March comes around. Hey, yeah, you got your big teams. You got your blue chip teams there, but you know what? There's going to be a team there. And they're going to ride the wave, and you don't know how long they're going to ride it for. But the country gets behind that team most of the time.
Oh yeah, because
So
they like to root for the underdog.
oh yeah, of course. So it's just looking at the bracket, we don't know who's going to be in. As far as we got to wait for those last kind of teams who are on the bubble to see who's going to actually be able to get into the tournament. But once that's in, hey, let the fireworks begin because it's going to start. It's going to come fast, and every day, from morning to night, it's just going to be basketball all day. College here, it's ready to light up the scene.
And I think that's something that the NBA is missing, just that unpredictability of who's going to win it all. There's really not much parity in the NBA. It's been the same teams over and over. On the last couple of years have teams that, like the Denver Nuggets coming out of nowhere to winning it, or the Milwaukee Bucks. But for the most part, it's the same teams over and over. The Lakers, the Celtics, the whatever super team LeBron forms.
Oh,
So that's the NBA is kind of like a little bit, but again, they should take notes from college basketball. Like, look, like they're, and I see them, trying to implement that with these different tournaments, like the in-season tournament, trying to spicing it up a little bit. But there's, it's just kind of falling flat a little bit. Just in my humble opinion.
I mean, the NBA, it's a, it's I guess sometimes you get static. Like you said, you got your teams who have the big money teams, big market teams, and they're out there. And then that's what hurts a lot of the NBA as well, is that these small teams in these smaller cities, with they just can't compete with the big money teams, and it's hard, to really throw, $350 million at one player, when these owners, are not getting the revenue that they need to be able to, get that contract out there for a certain player. But
Yeah.
and that's kind of what's happening with the NBA. Just the big dogs are eating the little dogs, and and it's just tough. But
you see it in baseball, but baseball has the most parity of any sport. If you think about it, people complain about the Dodgers, but they've only won it, besides the bubble, they've won it once in the last 32 years. 33, 34. Yeah, they've spent the most year after year. The Yankees haven't won it since 2009. Their payroll is always, among the highest.
Mm-hmm. Baseball's a little different sport. I think it's a hitter's game, and also I feel like it's kind of one of those one of the waves, right? You can know how to, and that's kind of what it is with the baseball. You just like a wave. It's a long season,
Yeah.
And so what you really want to do, what teams want to do is they want to get hot, September, right? That's kind of whatever. Hey, let's just step it up, So, they're just dragging the whole season. But once they know September's coming in, hey, October's right around the corner, playoff baseball. So then that's when you really see, the teams really start to, amp it up. They can bring the extra players onto the roster. And so then they start building. That's when they really start building the playoff team. Hey, this is what we're going to have. Who's we're putting out. And when it comes to NBA, it's not like that. You have your set. You just can't bring in extra guys. You don't have extra spots on the roster, and that's what makes it hard. Like there's a lot of great players, but there's also a lot of mediocre players. And they might be in the NBA, but when it comes to the NBA standards, they're just not there. But we do got teams like OKC that's really kind of stepping up in the NBA, and they're actually showing that, hey, we're a contender. Cleveland now without LeBron, look at them go. They came back to beat the Celtics in the thriller of a game after Tatum said, get the F out of my house. He was ready to, so
they just that was so bizarre. Like, bro, it's the first quarter. Like, what are you doing, my friend? Like, wait till the fourth quarter to do that, because especially in today's league, points come in droves, and a 13, 14-point lead is not insurmountable. You can make that up in a matter of minutes in today's NBA because it's a much faster paced game. The three ball is, here to stay. And, you make 4 threes in a row. a 14-point deficit is now 2. Like teams can
Yeah.
catch up in a hurry. But yeah, so transitioning to the NBA, what we have is the Rockets. They are the number 5 seed right now. Their last game was against the New Orleans Pelicans. They ended up winning that game, and it was a little closer than I expected score wise. I kind of expected
Yes.
this Rockets team to kind of put them away early, but kudos to the Pelican. They hung in there, and it was funny. I saw something on Twitter where Zion Williamson was, saying to one of his teammates that Dylan Brooks can't guard him. He held Zion to 3 of 9 shooting. I'm like, my brother in Christ. He did a pretty good job of. No, but like the guy that was a very surprising performer that game was Tari Eason.
Yes.
He really stepped it in the first half because the Rockets got off to a little bit of a slow start, but he was tenacious on both ends of the court. He ended up finishing with 20 points and 5 steals. I mean, he was all over the place. And his terror twin, Amen Thompson, with that double clutch dunk, man, that's just that was just chef's kiss right there.
Definitely.
Like it was all over, social media. His dunk on I can't remember the guy's name, but he was hanging in the air and then double clutched it. I was like, oh man.
No need for it, but I'm going to do it anyways because I can.
Yeah. Like, who doesn't love a good poster? But he had a really solid game as well. He actually led the team in scoring. No, he was second in scoring, excuse me. But he ended up finishing with 21 points and 11 rebounds. But again, he's also playing tenacious defense as well. The leading scorer was Sengun. He really stepped it up in the second half. He got off to a pretty slow start. Jalen Green had an off night, but Sengun, carried the slack on offense in the second half. And he ended up finishing with 22 points and 6 assists. Like I said, he's a big man. He's, again, very similar to how Joker plays. Big men that can score, but they're also great facilitators.
Yes. He's the point. I mean, the center point. That's what I'm calling now, the center point. But the Rockets did well. They had 5 players in double digits. So that really helped, especially Smith coming off the injury. Look at him now, 16 points. So he did really well. He's progressing. It's going to take some time for him to really get back to where he was at. But it just shows that he's not giving up. He knows his spot was taken, in the starting role, and he wants that spot back. So hey,
it's going to be tough for him.
He can earn that spot, in that second team whenever they come out, and really show them, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm progressing. I'm putting up these points, and the more consistent he is, the more Udoka's going to see that. And he's like, you know what? Let's get him into the starting line. Just to kind of mix it up. Sometimes you got to mix it up a little bit, especially when it comes to playoff time. Those 7-game series it's a big monster. It's a big drain on a lot of the teams, a lot of players. So, you got to, it's a game of chess. Let's mix it around. Let's see what he can do. So that's something I see in the future. If he continues to play way he's playing, progress and show that progression, then I see Udoka using him in the playoffs as one of those, interchanging players that can come second team or, on the starting team. And that's going to be a big difference down the road.
Yeah, no, actually, I kind of have to disagree. I think his best role is coming off the bench as that 6-man, which, in today's NBA, even being a 6-man, you're still playing starter minutes. He's still averaging about 30. Yeah. I think him coming off the bench as that 6-man, I think it's a better role for him right now, just because you can't, at this point, you can't bench Amen Thompson. He's on the cusp of super.
Yeah, that's true.
He's on the cusp of stardom, and I think their most effective unit thus far when they went on their win streak was, Van Fleet at the point, Jalen at the 2,
yes.
Amen at the 3, Dylan Brooks at the 4, and then Sengun at the 5. That has been their most effective lineup, offensively and defensively, because all those guys, minus Sengun, he's not, known for his defensive prowess, but he, gives effort at least on the boards, and he's a great facilitator. So it kind of makes up for it a little bit. And having, Jabari come off the bench, and then, having Tari Eason as well, like both of those, they could plug and play into the starting lineup, just again depending on injuries or if they feel like they have a good matchup with one of those, and you can interchange it. But again, like we had mentioned with the Cougars, having depth is huge, especially come playoff time, because it's a grueling season, especially when you're 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. you're on the road in hostile environments. Having that depth is definitely a big key. And the last few teams that have won the NBA championship all had excellent depth. Look at the Boston Celtics. That's a loaded roster from top to bottom, and they had great help off the bench. When the Denver Nuggets won,
Oh,
great.
definitely, yeah, big time.
They had guys knew the role, and they had a ton of guys that can come off the bench and just provide that spark that you need when the offense is lagging a little bit. And we see it again this season with Cleveland. Again, probably the second best team in the NBA after the Thunder.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Another team with
I think you said it the best. I think you
again,
said it best. Players are playing their role, and they know they role. That's the biggest thing, like Smith can be, he's not the same caliber, but he could be like a Manu for the Rockets. That player just, really explosive with the second team, and what he's going to do, and he's going to be a threat when he's coming out on that second team. And he could go, like you're saying, he's going to play extended minutes. Getting the same time, starter minutes. It's pretty much equivalent, but his minutes can go higher depending on who I'm worried about. Kind of Jalen Green. He only had 9 points against the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes he puts that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of deal in these games, but and that's kind of why I said like Smith can kind of just maybe kind of like, even though he's more of a power forward, but that doesn't mean he can't change in and out. But whenever they see that Green's pretty much not on his game a little bit, because given 34 minutes, 9 points, not going to cut it in the playoffs. And then you have to score. You have to score, and that's what it is. You have to score against these top teams, and Udoka's not going to play games. He's not going to play games with these players. He knows he's going to light a fire under their butt and like, hey, let's get out there. They have to play. They have to play, and he's going to make sure that they play at their, at the top of his level. And
on both sides,
it's just, yeah. And so that's kind of what I was saying about Smith. Kind of like, hey, he could be interchanged, just because I'm worried about some of the players when it comes to the Rockets. But that doesn't mean Green's not going to go off, one of the games or not. But it's just that's just kind of where I see it a little bit. It's just it's come back to production for me when it comes to the Rockets and Jalen Green.
Especially with Jalen Green, because with all the trade rumors and a lot of people they're looking towards the offseason because a lot of big names are going to be available. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant,
yes, big time.
LaMelo Ball. Like there's a lot of names out there, and he's really going to have to ramp it up and show that he can be the Jalen Green that we typically see, after the All-Star break. Because historically, after the All-Star break, that's when he usually goes off. His averages jump up a few points. It'll go from averaging, like 17, 18 points up to like 25, 26 points. But he has to be more consistent if he wants to,
yes,
if he wants to be one of the faces of the franchise. He's got to step it up, especially come playoff time, because this is a young team, and they aren't battle tested. Like they haven't been to the playoffs ever. Most of them outside of Dylan Brooks and Van Fleet, none of these, they're all kids. They've never made the postseason.
Yeah,
they don't know playoff basketball, and they have to go through the same lumps that the Thunder went to with their young team. You got to take those lumps and see where you stand in regards to the NBA hierarchy as the top teams. Like you may have a great regular season, but if you completely flame out in the playoffs, like what was the point? So I'm really curious to see how this team is going to perform in April once the playoff starts. Once less rest days, higher intensity, a lot more hostile crowds. Because come playoff time, there's no half-empty arenas; they're all packed.
Oh yeah. And I believe Raphael Stone, he's not going to wait. He's not going to wait. He's a dog. He's a dog. He wants players that are, going to bring a lot to the team. And someone like Durant, who's been linked to the Rockets, even during the trade rumors, even through off season, they're looking, the rumors are that, the Rockets are looking to maybe, sign Durant. So you already know who that's going to affect. It's going to be Green's going to be the one on the chopping block. And, that's just what it is. But, that's why he has to show now his worth and how he'll be in the future, because he can still be an all-star, but he has to start now, and be more consistent again. But, it's just going to come down to him and what he really wants. how bad he wants it, how bad he wants to be the star. Hey, you know, a star, you're gonna get paid. And the Rockets, they're willing to pay. You know, when the James Harden was here, he was making money because he was a star. He was showing that, hey, they didn't win a championship, but they were in the playoffs. They were always in contention. They were always there. So,
They were on
no,
the brink of making the NBA Finals a
yeah.
couple times, but just
And Fertitta sees that as an owner. He's like, hey, you know what? Whenever he's looking at the Rockets, he's looking at the players, and he's like, hey, you know what? I want great players, and if Green starts to really break out of his shell, he's gonna let him know, hey, you know what? You want to be here? I want you here for a long time. You know, and he's gonna show with the money and the contracts. But if he's not showing it, hey, we move on. Durant's right there. You know, we don't know, of course, it's just all rumor, but you know, the rumors are there that Durant, you know, they're looking at maybe trying to possibly get Durant in the offseason. But again, it's all rumors, but that doesn't mean that he can't fight those rumors with his performance now all the way into the playoffs and into the playoffs.
yeah, as the old saying goes, winning cures everything.
Oh yeah.
And to quote the great quote the great Al Davis, just win, baby. That's all
Oh.
Speaking of wins, so I mentioned earlier, the Rockets are they're the fifth seed right now, but it's essentially a four-way tie almost for the not four-way tie, but it's basically two games between the number 2 seed Lakers and then the I think it's the Grizzlies that are above the Rockets at the 4 seed, and I forgot who was the 3 seed, but it's
Break it
basically
up.
all the 2 games back from the Lakers for that 2
Okay,
spot.
so it's the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Rockets, and the Lakers that are there that you're talking about.
Okay, so it's the Nuggets that are the 3 seed. Because I know
Mhm.
they're right above the Rockets, but they both have the same records. I think the Grizzlies get the nod because of strength of schedule, I believe. Either that or point scores. So I can't remember how they separate like the teams with the same records as far as the rankings go. But I mean, they're all those guys with 2 games behind the Lakers, which I mean, adding Luka, like we mentioned last week, has been a game changer for them. But
Big time.
I was on a different basketball podcast yesterday, and something that I had brought up was I watching the Lakers play. It's a lot of iso ball. It works in the regular season. We saw that with the Rockets and James Harden a few years ago, but it doesn't
Mhm.
translate to postseason success because
No.
at that point it's all about the half court offense and half court defense, and they really don't have much outside of Luka or LeBron in the iso game. There's not a lot of free movement. There's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot of like plays around. It's just basically if LeBron has the ball, everyone's standing or in the corner or the 3-point line. Same thing if Luka has the ball. Like there's no type of trying to set up pick and roll, set screens. None of that. It's just iso ball. Again, it works great in the regular season against the weaker teams, but you're not playing the weaker teams in the playoffs, especially in the West. The West is stacked. I mean,
Yeah.
the East is basically between the Celtics and the Cavaliers for the top spot, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the West. I mean, the Thunder are more than likely going to win the West, as with the number 1 seed because they have like an 11-game lead on everybody else. So that's just unless they completely collapse, the number 1 seed's out of the question. Everyone's fighting for that number 2, 3, and 4 spot. But even then, you still got teams that are like the Warriors who've been steadily, stacking up wins.
Yes.
Adding Jimmy Butler, he looks like the Jimmy Butler of old. And
It's,
it's going to be real
mhm.
curious to see who takes those last couple playing spots in the 6, 7, and 8 seed. It's going to be a dogfight in the West. And, as a basketball fan, it's pretty exciting to see because it could be anybody in the West. The East, I mean, let's be real, it's going to be Boston or Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Of course. But it's a shame that it's like that in the East. I think it's been like that for quite some time, for many years.
Yeah,
You know, the West has been stacked forever since I've been watching basketball. They've been stacked. You know, it's
well,
back when
actually,
they had divisions. You know,
yeah,
back
back
whenever
then
I remember
divisions matter. Now that most
back
people,
whenever they had divisions. Yeah,
the
you had
average fan,
the Spurs, you had the Rockets, Dallas, were and the Grizzlies. I think were in that division.
yeah, there
Hard
was a
hitters.
yeah, the Southwest Division was pretty tough because again they had the 3 Texas teams and a couple other teams, and you had the Atlantic Division, had the Bulls, the Pacers, and all these
It
other.
was, oh my god.
Most people can't even name the divisions. I'll be honest, I can't remember all of them. I remember a
I can't
few.
remember.
It's just we never talk about them anymore. It's just they don't really matter anymore because
Bring
one
him back.
was so dominant. Like when Jordan played, the East was the most dominant side, from the Celtics to the Pistons to the Bulls winning 6. And then after Jordan retired, that's when the Lakers, went on had their dynasty. The Spurs had their dynasty. And then from there, like it was between Dallas and then San Antonio won a couple. And then other than that, it's been the Warriors.
That's true. Yeah, I always used to watching, growing up, I felt the West always hurt themselves when it came to the finals because they were playing against dogs. But these teams were tough. They were getting beat up left and right every night. And so, you had a team like the Spurs. The Rockets were always in contention there. The Lakers, the Kings, Portland. These were teams that would beat you up. So they would beat each other up in the playoffs, limping into the finals. That's how bad it was. I remember just limping into the finals. And that's what always gave the East a chance to win the championship, is because the West is just eating them, cannibalizing themselves. They're beating each other up. And then the East, what are they really doing? I mean, they get a little rough over there, a little hand hit here and there. But the West was just so tough.
Those Detroit Pistons teams, man, they were out there swinging elbows.
They were tough. But again, I just felt that, just my personal opinion, when it came to the West, I've seen a lot more injuries in the playoff times. Brandon Roy, he got injured. That was a big deal.
Man, he was a fun guy to watch, and just those injuries, man. Him and who's the other guy? Greg Ogden.
Oh yeah, Greg Oden.
Yeah, like these injuries, like these guys, like I was excited to see what their careers would look like, and it's just. But I mean, I've been watching basketball for almost 40 years, and just all these big what if stories that I've seen in my lifetime, Grant Hill, like what he could have been if it wasn't for those ankle injuries. Oh. Same thing with Penny Hardaway, like
D Rose. Oh my God, D Rose. Oh
man,
what a big what if. That's the biggest what if for me.
I remember, he was the youngest MVP ever, and then seeing him playing garbage time, and then seeing him holding it, I was like, no. Like as a basketball fan, you're like no, please be okay. But man, that was tough. I was watching that. I'm like, you can't be serious.
No, and then coming back to it, I think going back to divisions was something and making the divisions matter like they used to kind of matter. Back growing up, in the glory days, as we call it. But kind of like the way football has divisions. It's a real battle between. You're battling between. Baseball has it. So it really builds a lot of storylines too. And that's what the NBA needs. So something like the divisions coming back would help build narrative even within the state.
Championships, because they used to have division banners and stuff like that, but they just
I couldn't that's something
but yeah,
I mean, it can help. It can help, if they really want to look at the big picture, like how they can use the narrative of having divisions. Again, every sport has them except for the NBA. They got rid of them, and now it's just, even now they're doing a lot of funky things when it comes to seeding. It's just not the same. There was a lot of talk about just changing it. Having one full roster. One full not East or West, combining them. It's just too many things happening. But I think, just my opinion, bring it back to divisions, making it mean something, build the narrative. Of course, everyone wants to see a story. Like, we talk about, NBA on NBC, those stories that they would tell, the little vignettes they would play, those, seeing players just be, playing, balling out. That's what they need to bring back. That's what people want to see. They just don't want to see the game. They want to see the story in the game. And so
it's like wrestling.
Bring that
much for the storyline. Seeing the progression of like where a guy like, for example, like Cody Rhodes, just seeing when he won the championship, like they played his story like where he basically got kicked out of WWE. He had to basically work his way back up to get back with the company, and then going from that to being the champion, like it beating Roman Reigns, who has been the longest tenured champion in the company's history. Storylines they matter, but we don't really see that anymore with the NBA. If they could bring that back, you'll bring that'd make
No,
it easier.
hey, that's why you see these. Yeah, and then that's why these daytime showtime shows are still General Hospital. Why are they still around? Because the story, they're telling the story. People want and are invested. Hey, maybe Eduardo the pool boy is gonna, have the hots for Mrs. Garcia over there or something. Just
Right?
they like to see the salacious stuff, and use the NBA can inject that in if they really wanted to make it mean something again. And I think it'll put butts in seats, more viewers. The viewership will go up, and but that's here and over there. We could talk about it all day,
Oh, we
but
could talk about this for like an entire hour. We're not gonna do that. But there are so many things they could do. It's someone who my first sport growing up was basketball, and seeing what it was and to what it is now
Mhm.
it's a little disheartening, to be honest. But again, it's not dead. There are ways
No,
to kind of revitalize it, get that energy going, but it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time, and I think it's gonna take these commentators focusing more on
that
the
big time.
incoming talent versus talking about LeBron, talking about Bronny every day. Like, guys, there are so many storylines in the NBA you guys could cover, but you touch on the same subjects every day. Like, and I see why a lot of these programs are getting canceled, is because there's no originality. It's all talking about, like, you turn on ESPN, they're talking about the Lakers, talking about the
Oh,
Cowboys, about the Yankees. I'm like, but these teams aren't winning anything. Like, why are they at the forefront?
yeah,
Like, you focus on teams that are actually winning stuff. But like you said,
and that's why, yeah,
better.
and that's why the MLB pulled out their contract with ESPN. It just was not showing enough. They weren't getting enough love. They weren't getting enough showtime. Viewership. They were just was not. They weren't getting the investment that they thought they got when they were MLB. So that's what they pulled. And again, they just canceled Around the Horn. Been shown around for over 20 years. And it's going to keep
Shout out to
happening.
Tony
But you know
Allen,
what?
man. Tony,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember watching him be a intern on Pardon the Interruption.
Oh yeah.
He was an intern, and he went from that to hosting his own show. Like I grew up watching him and watching his progression from being, an intern to, hosting his own show, getting married, be a dad, and then now looking at let's see what's next for him. Like, it's storylines. They matter. Like, you watching someone throughout the, start from the very bottom basically to, to the top, and then riding off into the sunset.
you know, uh, I don't know if you've seen it. It was all over the internet. Charles Barkley roasting Kendrick Perkins and ESPN.
Oh man, we need to see that
I
celebrity
mean, it
box.
was. Oh, Charles
I
won't
really
even laugh.
want to do
He's
that.
just too big. He's just too big of a guy. But he's right. He's right. Exactly what he's the criticism he's levying at ESPN is right. Like you're saying, LeBron James, Bronny's a nobody. I mean, well, he's not a big player, but they're highlighting him. Hey, Bronny had 3 points today. Why do I care about that? What is he really
Why are we
contributing to
talking
the team?
about
Just because he's LeBron's, they're talking about Golden State. I mean, we're talking about these teams who have older players getting older. They're not promoting the newer players. I don't see SGA on posters. I don't see him out there, being promoted. You
at all?
know, so like, where's Mitchell at? Where's Mitchell? He's leading the Cavaliers to a great season. Where's he at? They don't even talk about him.
Yeah, they don't talk about Garland. They don't talk about any of those guys. Even with the Rockets, when they were at when they were at the 2 seed in the West, they were getting no love at either. Like, it's every week, every day, every week. LeBron, Bronny, like, guys, like I said, I 100% back what Charles Barkley said. Like, he was right. Like,
Yes.
they're part of the problem why the viewership is not tuning in, because no one wants to see the 35th segment of LeBron. Like, oh, I kid you not. I think one time on what was it, Instagram, it was literally like 10 posts in a row about LeBron James in a game they lost. I'm like,
Oh my
God,
God. Even the Giannis talk has died down, you
yeah,
know.
It's not
And
going to pick
he's a
up
star. He's still a star. He might not have the production he's having this year, but that doesn't mean he's not a star. You still got to promote the stars. This is the NBA is all about the stars. It's been about the stars forever. You
yeah.
know, Showtime. You had the Twin Towers with the Rockets. You had the Spurs, their little dynasty. Miami. These teams were highlighting everybody as stars. Everyone was getting the same, some love. But now it's just, of course, hey, we're gonna. I feel it's just their cookie cutter now. Hey, we're gonna, you know,
What's going to get us
every
clicks? LeBron.
yeah, every show's gonna have the same talking points. Every show's gonna be the same, pretty much. And so again, that's where the problem happens. But again, it's gonna be up to Commissioner Adam Silver to change it, but of course, that's it's like
Lazy.
moving boulders. but but yeah, you know what? Again, is just beating a dead horse. I feel like this continue to happen. But it just shows you the passion that NBA player, NBA fans have. They care
Yep.
about the sport. They want to see it succeed. They don't want to see it die. And then who was a player that said that we're complaining about fans watching like the 90s games, and he's like, oh, they're bringing the game down because of nostalgia.
That was Gilbert Arenas, I think. Or no, no, no. It was, I can't remember. It was a former player, but it's not nostalgia. It's just what it is. It was a more entertaining product. You didn't have to worry about players sitting out. I'm in a fantasy basketball league. I gave up on that. You know why? Because every other day there's someone that's hurt or not even hurt, just sitting out. I'm like, back in the day,
Yeah.
like I think I saw on Facebook this sport. I can't remember the name of the sports page. They posted a stat about who scored the most sick points in a single season. It was Michael Jordan when he won his first MVP. He scored over 3,000 points that season, and it ended up averaging 37.1 points per game. Someone would need to play all 82 games and average 37.2 points to score more points than he did that season. And mind you, he wasn't a big 3-point shooter.
No.
I mean, that's just the game is just really moved away from posting up the half court offense to just a 3-point and layup drill.
Yeah. It's just a lot. Hey, there's a lot of things plaguing the league right now. But of course, you know, people want to hang. People just want to, of course, be excited about their team, be excited about the NBA in general. And really come out. They want to show out. No one wants to be in their home just cheering these games. They want to go to the bar. They want to have friends. They want to feel that
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 energy.
atmosphere that it was before. The energy that it used to bring. I remember watching the Rockets in the playoffs, and I was at Eighth Wonder Brewery, and it was just packed to the brim.
Yeah.
And they ended up losing the game, but you felt that energy. When they were the back and forth with Golden State, and then at the end, of course, they lost. But you also felt that as a fan, you felt that pain. You're like, oh. But that's what it is to be a fan. To ride or die with your team, to actually feel like it hurts you, like this hurts.
It just ruins your whole
Um,
day. I mean,
yeah. So I that's kind of what I want back. I want to be able to have that feeling. When it comes to the NBA. Hey, watching the Rockets, win. When I'm there in person, hey, it's a party. I'm cheering for the Rockets. But I want to, you see everybody cheer. That's what you want to see for the city. You want to see the fans happy for the product that's being put out there.
Mhm.
And the Rockets are doing that now. Of course, they have some up and downs, but they're still right there within striking distance in the second seed, like you were saying. They still got a couple more games to go. The season, and we got 1 month, almost 1 month left in the season.
Yep.
So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? How are they going to bring the heat? They're going to close out these games. You did say before that they had one of the easier schedules within the NBA. So show it. So they got the Pelicans tomorrow. They already beat them yesterday. I expect for them to win again tomorrow.
Yeah.
but how close? Dick, you're saying the game was kind of close yesterday. You know, for everyone's liking, but they pulled it out, and now you see where they are, fifth seed within striking distance, and that should get the city excited. Like they're in contention, and they I would say they're pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot. What seed we don't know, but
Yeah,
they're there.
it
They're
just gives
fighting and battling, and it's good to get excited again about the Rockets. The city is needed it. They want the Rockets to be a great team. When Harden was here, you really seen the fans come out, really show out. And the city just wants it. Astros are winning. You see them piling in. Texans are doing much better. You see them, getting more sellouts. And the Rockets, they're doing much better, and they're getting more. They're selling more tickets, and so that's it's great to support a winner. And I think Udoka and Rafael Stone are just doing a great job of building this team to be a winner now and into the future.
Yeah, I mean, the energy in the city is so much different when the teams are doing well. A few years back, when the University of Houston's football team was, they had the hashtag for the
Oh,
city, H-Town
mhm.
H-Town takeover. You really felt the energy of, in the city with the team. Like they were all behind it. But then, Coach Herman, he stabbed the team in the back and left,
He
and
did.
they
Oh,
kind of been on a downward spiral since. And then now with them hiring Coach Fritz, I'm curious to see how this program rebounds if they can get on the same par as the basketball team. Remains to be seen, but hey,
this city could be a city of champions. I really see it. There's a lot of great things. The like I said, the Astros. They're going to be somewhat. They're be, they're in contention at least.
yeah, they're going to be contenders here.
Texans made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. That was a big deal. It's been a while since they made it. Of course, U of H. Look at the Cougars. The basketball team is doing phenomenal. We're Sweet 16. Already into the. They're going to be one seed. They should be a number one seed.
Yeah,
But they won the Big 12 twice, making history there. They have players on their team that's going to make history. Robert's going to get that. 5 rebounds away from 1,000.
you got LJ
That's a
Crowder,
big
who has
deal.
a chance to win 2 national championships with 2 different programs. Like that was
Yeah, and then you
pretty
have
rare.
Milo's, 7th
I mean,
ranked player in the nation. Assist ratio turnover. So I mean, there's a lot of things to be excited about within the city of Houston as far as like sports is involved, but basketball wise, Rockets going up. Of course, U of H has been up for a while, and so it's a time. It's right now. It's a great time to be alive and be able to witness it again. That these teams are coming back to a little bit to their glory times. And so
it
the
makes
Rockets, they're on their way. They're on their way. It just like you were saying, I think with every season, sometimes that failure hurts a little bit and it eats at them and it makes them be, those players want to come out like, hey, you know what, we're going to make the playoffs this year. They say that to themselves and look at them now, they're right there.
yeah, adversity builds character.
Definitely.
But yeah, so that's gonna wrap it up for us this week, guys. Tune in next week. We'll try to have the episode up a little bit earlier. We had some stuff going on this week, but we'll try to be a little bit more consistent and doing it on the same day. Appreciate you guys tuning in. To make sure you follow us on our Twitter account at In the Paint Pod, as well as the YouTube channel. Definitely feel free to like and share our videos. We're trying to put out a little bit more content for you guys, and that's gonna be it for us this week. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.